Well, there went our intro. I don't know what happened.
All right, well, here we are.
Yeah, we
What's
jumped
up,
in.
brother?
So our musical intro didn't go in, and so I don't know. I guess I hit a wrong button or something. Anyway, it's kind of hard when you're engineer hosting, and so anyway.
And then trying to swallow the last bite of the taco.
For the last part of the taco, man. So as I'm here checking myself, making sure that I don't have anything on my shirt this morning. But good morning, folks. Welcome to Tacobout Live with Frank and Manny. I just want to praise the Lord for another beautiful, wonderful day of life. And so as we're getting close, as we're in the middle of the holiday season, for us, it's Hanukkah is coming up, and so we're very excited about that, to celebrate the Festival of Lights, the Feast of Dedication. Yeah. And then, of course, for Christians, it's celebrating Christmas, but it's a wonderful time. But today, it doesn't feel like winter.
No, it sure doesn't. Yeah. It's supposed to get up to about 80 degrees here in Del Rio today, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of frigid, I guess, for some people. I don't know, but anyway, the winter's over here in Texas, man. But we got a lot to talk about this morning, and so we want to open it up real quick with this. Around the 21st, I guess, or of December, Frank, Title 42 is looking to be lifted.
Yep.
And so, which is kind of a mess because once Title 42 gets lifted, I've been talking with agents and other sources, and man, they are just not panicking, but they're very, very stressed out and fearful because of the wave that they're expecting.
Yeah, so where do you even start? The Congress, of course, has known this is going to happen. Officials have known this is going to happen. And for the majority of Americans, brother, honestly, folks living outside the border regions, they don't even know what it's about.
No, they have no idea what it's about.
And then for border residents, Texas residents that may know about it, does it really mean anything? Does it matter to them? I'd say it matters to some folks. I mean, our sovereignty is being violated. We've got people coming in. The Title 42 has been one of the last instruments that the Border Patrol, CBP, has had to somewhat deal with these people coming in. And even then, career bureaucrats, bro, and honestly, to a certain extent, sycophants within these agencies have just basically played games with Title 42. In other words, instead of applying it to the maximum effect possible, it's been a token application, and that comes from sources as well within that. Say you have 100 people, instead of applying Title 42 to 90% of them, whatever, you get 5, 10. All right, hey, check the box. We did our Title 42 for today, and return some people and load them up on the bus.
Yeah, because
load the rest up on the bus.
You're exactly right, because people have been asking me, well, we're still getting these influx, about 10,000, per day, through here in the United States, but. So people ask me, well, if all these people being released, who does Title 42 apply to? Title 42 right now is being mainly applied to Mexicans illegally coming across into the United States. And so once that's lifted, there's going to be a lot of Mexican illegal aliens coming into the country. So agents are expecting this influx. And so possibly Border Patrol is looking at 20,000 illegal aliens per day, and the majority of them being released into the United States. And so what's going to end up happening, Frank, is now, I mean, we barely got anybody out there patrolling now, right? Yeah. With this influx, what's going to happen, or this tsunami that's going to happen, processing is going to be the priority, and secondary, and law enforcement is going to be put on the back burner.
Well, in some stations, even now, you go right next door to Sanderson Station. And when I say next door, Del Rio sector, Big Bend sector, there are stations that are enjoying, agents are honestly, folks, enjoying going out and patrolling.
Yeah.
You talk to the guys at the, Big Bend sector. Folks in the patrol know that Del Rio has been one of the targeted sectors, and so other parts of the country, somewhat normal operations are going on. The variation might be, they got a spike in folks that are going around that are not turning themselves in, that are still trying to circumvent, trying to avoid detection. You'll have some of that going on. And then the other impact, of course, is folks that are being sent on temporary duty to focus sectors like Del Rio, another RGV perhaps, where the additional manpower is needed. So this is it is orchestrated across the board. The effect, to a certain extent, the desired outcome, Manny, is taking place. Which, look, folks, people want cheap labor in this country. They do.
No, I laugh because I was just reminded about Nancy Pelosi's comment, right, about when Texas is in Florida sending illegal aliens up to Martha's Vineyard and other places up north, and right away her racist comments come out, right, that they can't it shouldn't be being shipped up here because we need crops to be worked, right?
Yeah, well, there are stereotypes, and unfortunately, to a certain extent, that is being fed, Manny, because there is a demand for cheap labor in this country. And part of that demand, and that's why I say the Republican Party is schizophrenic, because part of the demand is by the cheap labor branch of the Republican Party, which is, it's going to feed all this. So you'll get this double talk, or people talking out of both sides of their mouth. Stop it, stop it, stop it. And then on the other side of it is they're working deals with big corporation to bring people, or labor-intensive businesses to bring people in, and so it kind of boils down to Americans can be outraged, Texans can be angry, horrified, shouting from the rooftops about the demise of our country.
Yeah.
When honestly, we're being, brutally honest to ourselves, Manny. A very small percentage of Americans care about this.
No, you're exactly right.
Very small percentage of Americans want anything done about this. And that's the reality, is that it boils down to the same old thing. A lot of talk, a lot of anger, pontification going on, about the outrages and the excesses and all this other stuff. Very few people would do anything, if at all they could do anything about it within the processes that we have. And I'm referring to Congress. It's obvious the DHS under Mayorkas is not going to do anything about this of significant impact.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're exactly right. But the reality too, Frank, is that we saw even by people, the way people voted this during the midterm.
Yeah.
We always use that adage about the definition of insanity, and doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results. But people voted the same people in who are complicit in this invasion. Who are complicit in trafficking, who are complicit in giving these NGOs all this money, supporting them when they are basically running overt smuggling or operations. And so, but we saw that, Frank. We saw where during the midterm, these people casting a vote for the same people who are doing the same exact thing and expecting them to change.
Yeah. So Title 42 going away, you'll get the expected anger against it, and not everybody. I mean, look, there's a few people out there that I really think, given the access to power to really do something about it, would do something about it. And I'm referring, for instance, to Chip Roy in Congressional District 21. I really believe that Congressman Roy is more than just talking. He really wants to do something about it. And he keeps referring to the power of the purse, Congress controlling the money flow to the federal government, because it is the feds that are doing this on the border, and it's the state, the counties, the local jurisdictions, the hospital districts are the ones that are having to clean up the mess. But folks know it's the feds that are funding this invasion, and that's why there's talk about getting rid of Mayorkas, impeaching Mayorkas. We'll see what they do. Of course, they're saying it enough that the guy might just step down and resign.
I mean, they got rid of Magnus, right? And so, but hopefully Mayorkas is next, and I hope this.
But the Republicans didn't get rid of Magnus.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an internal house cleaning between Mayorkas, Biden administration, that they did that. But
Which that actually happens kind of frequently.
yeah, you take somebody off. Look, man, I mean, having served in the federal government here,
Yeah.
we know, Manny, there's a lot of folks with very fragile egos out there.
How come you didn't send me this email? How come you send it to him? And you're out of here. You know.
Oh, dude, freaking. Yeah. Don't even get me started on that of the dynamics within the what has become a bloated, entrenched, government civilian government workforce.
Yeah.
Bro. And look, folks are saying, well, hey, pot calling the kettle black, whatever. I mean, look, we were in the government ourselves, but we had an ideal, right?
Yeah.
We go in, we swear that oath to the Constitution, believing in it, being idealistic persons, and that's what happens, man. Is you get an idealistic person, a patriotic person, that goes into the federal service and sees the excesses, sees the waste.
Yeah. Because they're very good people. The majority of people in the Border Patrol are very honest,
Yes.
hardworking people, want to enforce the law. But you get that that minority that's at the top and doing some things and that are, I don't know, this
a bunch of
questionable.
kiss asses is what they turn into, bro. I mean, honestly,
something
bro.
happens. I mean, there's a compromise that takes place, and if it takes place even within the agency we're a part of, it certainly takes place in all other agencies as well. I've seen it working with other agencies, and then of course with DHS and CBP as a whole. So like with Chip Roy. Talking with him, we've talked to him before, met with him, numerous times, an awesome guy. But I think he's like one of the few that are really trying to do something and honestly do something and courageously do something. And others are like, yeah, we got your back, way back, but that's just the way it works, man. Because, way back, we got your, because that's the reality, though.
Yeah.
That's the reality. With this Title 42 being lifted,
yeah.
Folks, this is going to send a huge wave of illegal aliens into the country. And again, BP is looking at possibly 20,000 illegal aliens per day, right? It's going to jump up, double, almost triple. Even when Obama was in office, Frank, there was only about maybe 1,000 per day. And so I know a lot of conservatives and whatnot criticize Obama, but back then we were somewhat we were always having to outsmart Obama, right, on how to enforce the law and how to prosecute people. But it wasn't overt, as overt as is under the Biden administration. But and then what's amazing is that during the fiscal year 2022, during this fiscal year, there were approximately 2.4 million encounters, right? 2.4 million. Of course, we believe that it's higher. That the more, because there's versus 2019 when Trump was in office, right before he was getting out of office, and kind of jumped up to like about 980,000 encounters. But of course, we're not counting the gotaways, which is so there's possibly more than that here in the United States now, because the majority of them were being released. But here's what's troubling now, Frank. Under this administration, I was reading the other day that ICE reports, or HSI reports, that there are fewer illegal aliens under the Biden administration that are facing deportation under criminal related charges. So that means they're allowing criminal aliens to remain here in the United States, more so than they did under any other administration. So a lot of these illegal aliens that are coming across, if you've seen the videos, the ones that are being apprehended, the ones that are being encountered, if you watch the videos, the majority of them are military-age males, right? Coming across, and the majority of them being released into the United States. And I can guarantee you that the majority of them, maybe about 90%, because we experienced this, I know I experienced that, have some type of criminal-related charge. And the reason is because a lot of them that are coming in, Frank, have already been priorly removed under Title 42 or priorly deported, and so they're just coming back. Coming back.
Yeah, and it's part of that revolving door, bro. I mean, look, honestly, I've said it over and over again. I'm sure folks get tired of hearing about it. America's schizophrenic about this, I mean, look at what's going. Even within the conservative ranks, and even the word conservative, you got to sit there and start defining that, because what happens, Manny, is terms and ideas get usurped, they get taken over, and so the term Republican or the Republican Party is being slowly taken over. the term conservative is being morphed, it's being changed, the meaning is being changed. You got people that call themselves conservatives, bro, and if you look at their stance, their ideology, they're best moderates, man.
Yeah.
And so what does conservative, in my mind, mean? Traditional. And what does traditional refer to? Biblical.
Yeah.
That's what it refers to, what it means in my mind. And so, the demise of Title 42, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that this administration is hell-bent on destroying our country. I mean, they'll sit there and they'll lie to you to your face. The White House spokesperson for Biden, she'll come on and, I mean, just blatantly lying to your face. Mayorkas lying to your face. Yeah. Kevin McCarthy was making a big noise about getting rid of Mayorkas, and people say, yeah, McCarthy's the man.
Yeah.
But really, if you dig into McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, the basically probably going to be the majority speaker, if not already the Speaker of the House, is playing both sides, bro.
Oh yeah.
Playing both sides. There's a lot of stuff coming out about him that people need to be looking at. That's why Chip Roy and others were saying we need a change in leadership. We need a change in the dynamic at work within the Congress. Otherwise, you're going to have the same thing happening. The same surface noise. We're fixing it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And underneath the surface of all that, Manny, same deals, same money changing hands. Case in point, FTX. The cyber coin stuff. People start screaming about, FTX money, all that Ponzi scheme money, etc., related to Democrats. But lo and behold, it's coming out that Republicans themselves receive donations from the FTX people.
Yeah.
And so, a bunch of noise, a bunch of folks up in the air about, Title 42 is going away. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, in
surprised.
reality, it was only enforced basically on one country. I mean, the majority of illegal aliens that are coming through here, like Venezuelans, Cubanos, they weren't under Title 42, so they were the majority of them being released. But here's an interesting thing. Excuse me. Very interesting as well. Well, not interesting, actually kind of sad, is that, I don't know if people know this too, but illegal aliens have started bringing over their pets as well. And so what's happening is not only are Border Patrol agents being tasked with taking care of illegal aliens, now they're being tasked with taking care of their pets. And so then what else is happening is a lot of these pets that are coming over are being released, are being abandoned along the river. And so what ends up happening, and why is it dangerous, right? Because you and I know we've dealt with dogs, out there on the river and whatnot. And so what does it have? They form packs, and it can be dangerous for both agents and illegal aliens. But this is kind of ridiculous, folks, that now they're so comfortable in coming into the United States. Now they're bringing their fur babies, man.
Yeah.
And with all their with everything, all their accessories and whatnot. So it's ridiculous. And so the reason I bring this story up is because Chip Roy a while back, in April actually, was grilling Mayorkas on operational control. Folks, there is no operational control anymore at the border. So much so that now they're bringing their pets. And so it's ridiculous. But I want to play this clip real quick, Frank, of Chip Roy grilling Mayorkas back in April in regards to Operation Control, and then he starts talking about the damage that's happening to the United States. So let me just throw this on there real quick.
Now let's talk about the damage being done to the United States of America. Mr. Secretary, do you know what this is? This is a mobile morgue, a body trailer, needed by counties in South Texas overwhelmed by dead migrants. That particular trailer is filled with these bodies, 27 bodies that were stored in this mobile morgue in South Texas with dead bodies of migrants. Dead bodies like this one found on a ranch just 3 weeks ago in South Texas, a dead migrant. Somehow that's compassion. How about the dead bodies found by migrants? Compassion. How about the ranchers who had to walk out of their door, and this is what they faced? Gentlemen with rocks threatening a rancher in South Texas, only able to be saved when they are able to bring their dogs out to scare the people away in order to save themselves. Or the fact that you've got houses being attacked, you've got livestock dead on the side because we've got ranches wide open. How about the little girl here with a brand on her arm? A little girl with a brand on her arm because of your policies. A little girl here in the desert found by ranchers trying to save their life. And how about the lost voices for people dying from fentanyl? The tens of thousands of Americans dying from fentanyl. Faces of Americans across this country dying because of fentanyl pouring into our country.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You know full well.
Time of the gentleman has expired, Ms.
Encouraging people to come here, harming Texas and harming this country. You know it.
Man, I just love Trip Roy, man. I love Trip Roy, and I didn't play the end of the video there, but Nadler, the chairman there, he expires. He basically cuts off Trip Roy, and then he announces to everybody else, Trip Roy will no longer be slandering Mayorkas. You know, it's sad, right? Trip Roy's throwing these facts out to him, literally throwing facts out to him, and Nadler accuses Trip Roy of slandering Mayorkas.
Yeah, bro, and so, what a joke. what a joke, you know.
What a big-time joke.
Look, we've got criminals running our country, man. Our government at the highest echelon, man, it's a criminal enterprise, honestly. We've got the tax dollars of Americans, hard-working people, bro, that are just trying to, buy gas, buy groceries, pay the mortgage, somehow, provide a better future for their kids. All this insanity, it's happening so that people can get rich, man.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it, and also so that their ideology can get pushed. I was reading my comments, and I get it. For some people here, it's fun to slam Biden and fun to slam the Democrats. Please look. If you're gonna do that, also be aware of that there are Republicans, not all, but many, that are just as much to blame, folks.
And there shouldn't be one.
There's just as many Republicans to blame as there are Democrats to blame for this. So, I get a little tired of Democrat this and Democrat that. Look, it's a uniparty. It's a swamp. And there are as many Republicans to blame as there are Democrats. There's a few exceptions for the Republicans like Chip Roy and a few others. But look, man, I personally am going to be talking a little bit more about FTX, that cyber coin, cyber currency, and how that interacts with the state of politics here in America. But that money was given to both Democrats and Republicans, and so for me personally, Manny, I'm really done with this mindless lemming mentality of people that view all this as just some kind of a win or lose kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And hey, my team won, whether it's the blue or the red or whatever. When at the end of the game, at the end of the contest, Americans get screwed anyways. America gets screwed anyways. Our tax dollars are misused anyways. Our children's future is squandered anyways. And so, this border is just symptomatic of the bigger issue. The border is the doorway to our country. Our country being our home, and our home has been infiltrated. It's been infiltrated. There are forces at work within our country that are trying to destroy it, trying to break apart every institution of our society, and the immigration process has been totally taken over. Laws are not being enforced the way they should be enforced. You're talking about the criminal aliens that are running around. Of course, you got George Soros buying off district attorneys, like Martinez right up the road here in Bexar County. You start looking at following the money, who's getting money. it's a bigger issue. It's a huge issue. And unfortunately, Manny, not enough Americans care. Not enough Americans get involved. There's a whole lot of freaking keyboard warrior stuff, a whole lot of flapping the gums going on, but very few people that actually roll up their sleeves and get into it and try to do something within the processes. Because at the back of my head, the whole time, as I'm saying this, I just keep thinking about an American reset. I just keep thinking about what this is all this action, all this activity, all this illegal activity, all these dynamics that work in our country, what they're pushing that small remnant towards. And so, it is very frustrating to see these people getting away with this over and over and over again. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, let's quit blaming the parties, because they're both to blame. They're both to blame. My question is, what are Americans going to do about it?
No, you're exactly right, Frank. You're exactly right, and a very, very good point. Because we've seen it, and we saw it during the midterms, and we continue to see it, and sometimes it's very frustrating. Actually, it's always frustrating to me, when I would talk with people, and they're like, well, I'd rather get a rhino in there than have no Republican at all. And folks, I've never, like we've talked about before, I've never identified as a Republican. I've never said I'm a Republican. I generally vote Republican because of the platform, but I always try to vet our candidates. But I will vote for an independent conservative. I'll never ever vote Democrat. Reason being is because I'm pro-life. I'm pro-marriage, and I'm pro-Constitution and pro-Israel. And so, but the reality, Frank, is that we get a lot of people that are willing to give up their freedoms for so-called security and for so-called convenience, and it's a sad reality, but that's the reality nowadays.
Look, we're a society, Manny, that gets trained. We're a society that gets conditioned. We're a society that has been socially engineered, bro. And we're a society where critical thinking has been slowly diluted and done away with in our educational system. Why am I talking about the educational system?
That's where it begins, man.
That's where our kids are indoctrinated. So we're a society that is just easily manipulated, and they know it. Both parties know this. The ideologues know this. The ruling class, the elites know that all they have to do is project out the story, the narrative, the mindset that they want, and Americans are going to buy into it.
Oh yeah,
Americans are going to follow along. For instance, let's just go back a few months ago. Everybody was all horrified at the Ukraine, and oh my God, look at these people, and Russia bad guy, and all this other stuff. Let's send them money. Let's send them money. And remember, I've said this over and over again. What is the government solution to any problem? Freaking throw more money. Just throw more money at the problem. So they said, billions. The $40 billion figure has been eclipsed now because they keep sending hundreds of millions of dollars over. And so what happened to that money? Now we're finding out, lo and behold, bro, it was part of a huge laundering scheme. And that's what we were saying. The same media that pushed freaking the 2020 results, and that's probably going to get us freaking thrown out of YouTube here again. And the same media that threw out COVID is the same media that threw out the freaking hogwash about the Ukraine. People couldn't see for what it was, man. It was just a way to launder more money and get more of our weapons, get more of our technology, and deplete America's money, deplete America's firepower, deplete America's weapons, resources, and then they pushed that manipulation into, for instance, the primary elections. And so it's not even elections anymore, people. It's selections. They are selecting the people.
Appointments,
and appointments. They're selecting the people they want to go through it. And so look, Whenever you hear the media getting all on the same bandwagon, all sounding like the same thing, it's orchestrated. And so, people have got to get away from this. People just have to think critically, Manny. You can tell people the truth, and I've said it before. You can lead a horse to water, you can lead them to water, and man, you have to practically shove their heads into the water so that they'll drink.
Yeah.
What else are we going to do, man? Freaking reach down there and pry their mouths open so they can slurp some water. I mean, just drink it. I'm trying to save your life here. But anyways, and there's others like us that are out here, telling the truth, spreading the truth, trying to open your eyes. The border here, it's a mess. It's a mess, but honestly, it's being focused. Like Trudeau Rio sector, the Rio Grande Valley, and yeah, other sectors are dealing with this, but it is a massive orchestrated movement. I saw a video from a friend of ours, Wyatt, down in Eagle Pass, a place I've been to many times, bringing you live broadcasts, with hundreds lined up, and you see the DPS troopers right there, the vehicles all lined up, and I documented it for folks here, Manny, where DPS picks these people up. National Guard is there helping, and they drive about a mile and a half away from that point to the TxDOT lot there at Eagle Pass at the port. And what do? They turn them over to Border Patrol.
Yeah.
And so Border Patrol takes them away. And so, everybody's freaking, doing the wave and clapping and shouting, Abbott declared an invasion. Oh, okay, great.
But the same thing's going to happen. The same thing's going to happen.
Stop.
Yes, it's not going to stop because his declaration was only to send people back to the border, which is not
and turn them over to Border Patrol,
which is not deportation, folks. It's amazing, Frank. What's happening in our time, because I believe, spiritually speaking, prophetically speaking, I believe a stage is being set, of course, for many things to happen, and for me, I believe that the Messiah is going to return, and that he's going to come back one day and
come quickly, Lord Jesus.
I do pray that he returns, and I always pray that he returns on a Monday. I'm not crazy about Mondays. That's just me. But it's interesting, Frank, because in the Psalms, there's an interesting psalm in regards to this when it says, in Psalm 89:52, it says how your enemies have mocked the Lord and how they have mocked the footsteps of the Messiah. Right? It says of your anointed one. And it was very interesting, Frank, is that early scholars. I want to read you something that early scholars said in regards to this. Psalm and how the condition of the world would be right before his return. And one discussion says that in the Mishnah, it says, in the footsteps of the Messiah, insolence will increase. And this was written hundreds of years ago. It said, insolence will increase, the cost of living will go up greatly, the vine will yield its fruit, but wine will be expensive. This is interesting. It says the governments will turn to heresy, and there will be no one there to rebuke them. And then the place of scholars, congregations will be used for licentiousness, sexual and immoral behavior.
Yeah,
it's very interesting, right? Very interesting. All from that psalm that they will mock the footsteps of the Messiah. The footsteps of the Messiah is an idiom, meaning that a lot of the conditions that are happening are going to get louder and louder and louder until we can hear the footsteps of the Messiah coming. They're like signs that indicate that his soon return, right? Yeah. His inevitable return. And so it's very interesting to me that this was written 100 years ago. And that scholars were even concerned back then that because it's actually happened before, right? It's actually happened before where immoral behavior is taking place in the congregations. The governments, there was nobody there to rebuke them. And I say this because if we look at what's happening now, look at our governmental system, Frank. It's overtly corrupt. I mean, they laugh about it.
Yeah,
they laugh about it on television.
Everybody knows it, bro. People know it. I mean, we know it. We know it. That's why. The danger in that, Manny, is it can turn into this cold cynicism, into this detached.
And it can become an accepted norm. That's the problem. It can become an accepted norm, which is happening. Oh, that's just the way it is. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, what are you going to do? Be having coffee and what are you going to do? I mean, look what's happening to the congregations now, right?
Yeah.
That was that say. It is what it is, right? But what's happening in the congregations now, in the schools? These cross-dressers, these drag queens reading stories to our children. They're actually being accepted behind the pulpits now.
Yeah.
Where they're having these services, to embrace different lifestyles. Folks, this is ridiculous. And then the overt, overt corruption that is happening right before our eyes.
Yeah, I got a text from a friend, a meeting, a pastor's gathering in San Antonio. It's intended to wake up the pastors to get engaged. Yeah. Somebody here in my comments said, look, God's going to fix this. Yeah. Hey, look, I basically fundamentally agree with that. God's going to fix that. It doesn't necessarily say, doesn't necessarily tell us what's going to happen. All I can tell you, though, is that the days will become increasingly evil.
God is going to fix it through judgment. That's how God fixes things. He fixes things
in His time, in His kingdom, in His
time. But up until that point in time, up until that point when His judgment comes, He uses people. Yeah. He uses people to raise their voices. Ezra and Nehemiah, when they were rebuilding the temple, one hand building the wall, one hand on the sword. It's important. Yeah, we build up defenses. Right?
And you talk, you proclaim, you preach, you tell the truth. Look, John the Baptist, man, he went out and he spoke the truth. He called out the government.
He called out the government
for their immorality.
Yeah.
And what happened? Well, the guy got his head chopped off. Sometimes that happens to the good guys. But nonetheless, he did what he was supposed to do.
He did what he was supposed to do.
And that's what we do. But there comes a point too, Manny. There comes a point, and Scripture talks about this, about the fools. Yeah. People who are foolish. They hear the truth, but they don't want to believe and embrace and apply the truth.
Right.
And so even in the New Testament, bro, there's talk about, leave that town and dust off, shake off the dust from your sandals.
Shake off the dust from you.
Don't cast your pearls before swine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, referring to the gospel, referring to truth, but you do make that effort. You talk and you preach and you proclaim and you teach. One-on-one sometimes, just very excruciating, very frustrating.
It is very frustrating sometimes, but the reality too, folks, is that the Bible tells us, especially in the Bechad Hashan, the New Covenant, that there are people amongst the elect that have become willfully ignorant, right? A lot of times, Frank, we think that the scriptures are talking to non-believers. The reality is that the majority of the time, the scriptures are talking to believers, people who've already professed their faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And so when the Bible scriptures warn us about certain things in regards to people becoming willfully ignorant, it is talking about people from within the body that are going to be accepting certain things and certain ways of life in the last days. It's happened before, it can happen again. History tends to repeat itself, right? But the gospel shouldn't suffer. That is the important thing. But folks, up until the time Messiah returns, it's important that we go about and continue to do our Father's business, and that means we continue to expose darkness in Ephesians, right? In chapter 5 and chapter 2, it tells us to expose the darkness, right? And the deeds of darkness, and to not, and especially when it comes to our children, right? Messiah himself said, if anyone causes these little ones to stumble, it'd be better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck and tossed into the ocean, and so into the sea. And so it's important for us to protect our children. We see what's happening today. We see what's going on in our schools. Look, we homeschooled our children, right? And it's not easy to homeschool your children, right? But we pulled our children out of school a long time ago, starting with our oldest one, because we saw things happening, right, in the schools. And a matter of fact, he had even one teacher brother that was sharing, what she would bring in a Ouija board. Right?
Yeah.
Those Ouija boards to class, and she was actually, that's when we said this final straw, actually, because our son came home one day in elementary, came home one day and said that his teacher bought an Ouija board and was showing them how her and her friends would do this and do that, and
freaking evil,
yeah, right. So we're like, okay, that's it, that's enough. So we pull them out, because once those doors close, right? Once those doors close at the ring of the bell, who knows what happens in there, right? But anyway, it's important, folks, to stay engaged, teach your children, right? Sit at the dinner table with your children and explain to them, don't depend on the indoctrinations of the school system or the governmental system, because the reality is, Frank, is that statistics show that parents only spend about 15 minutes a day with their children. 15 minutes and maybe 5 minutes in total of discussion, actual discussion.
And so that is the primal role of parents, bro. And hey, look, nobody out there is perfect, so we're not throwing rocks at parents, you know. And even so, man, you could spend a lifetime, you know, or spend a childhood teaching your children, Manny. And we know they'll go grow up and they'll go live their own lives and they'll make decisions, and some of them can be bad decisions.
Yeah.
Some of them can be good, but God has set up a system, and that system consists of the family, the primal importance of the family. It's the basic. It's foundational to human society, not just American society, but human society. But God has also established government. But government is not the be-all, end-all as far as human government. You know,
right.
God has His government. God, you know, the Word talks about the kingdom of the Lord. So there is that perfect state. But in the meantime, here, we as Americans, and as citizens of this world, we have been given, you know, free will, independent thought by God. And what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with that is kind of what, you know, we have to decide. You know, are we going to sit here, rant and rage, or are we going to get involved? You know, I try to get involved along one avenue because, you know, for me, alternate routes, Manny, alternate avenues are much more costlier, you know, heavier prospects to deal with.
But then there's the criticism that goes along with that too, right? Sometimes from believers themselves, you know, but we shouldn't mix our faith with our politics, right? Or we shouldn't get involved in these circles, you know. That always puzzles me. It really always puzzles me, because when we look at the examples that Messiah himself set for us, Frank, he got involved in.
Yeah, bro. I mean, look, Jesus, the Word, became flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, he got involved. I mean, if that's, you know, the epitome of getting involved is leaving heaven and come to earth, taking on human form. Talk about involvement.
Yeah.
And then there's involvement in so many different ways, in, you know, family life and delegate and governance. Certainly, for me, when I hear Christians say that, bro, they don't care, they're lazy, they're afraid, you know, they don't know better.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to insult, you know, people here. I'm just, you know, that's the truth, man. It's the truth.
Yeah.
People don't want to get outside their comfort zones, for me, you know this. I've said this before. Look, do not forsake the fellowship. Do not forsake assembling with one another. But the four walls is not the end all. It's just it's a training ground.
Oh, it is.
It's a place to learn. And then you go out into the world and you apply the truth that you
Exactly right.
you learn.
You're exactly right.
And you know, as persons of faith here, you know, it's very much a part of who we are as well as people. Law enforcement's a part of who we are, and a desire to positively impact our society, positively impact our neighbors' life here in America, because this is our home. You know, let Mexicans take care of Mexico, let Colombians take care of Colombia, and, you know, let freaking Europeans take care of Europe, man. This is America. Americans need to be taking care of American issues here.
And what's amazing to me is that ideology, Frank, that ideology today is so offensive to many people. America first. You know, America first is so, but yet it's okay. It's okay for like Ukraine to be Ukraine first, right? So much so that we'll send over $60 billion over there, right?
And those same people that it offends, you know, America first offends them. It's okay to put Americans last.
Yes.
You know, and then of course, Manny, whether it's you know, the aspect of what that does in the process when you put America last, bro, is it starts tearing up, destroying this great nation and all the good that can come out of it when we are strong, when we are prosperous. And so
'Cause I have no doubt. Of course, I believe when the Messiah, returns, we're going to be taken to the New Jerusalem. But I do believe that the United States is the greatest country in the world. In the world. I mean, as far our freedoms, the things that we have. Why is everybody flooding here? Right? I mean, look, over 10,000 a day.
They want
right
freebies.
now. Right. They want. Yeah, we give everybody everything. But the reality is like I don't see anybody jumping the river or crossing the river going into Mexico, right, or going to Venezuela, but we have all these people on our side, American citizens, saying how socialism and communism, is the right way to go, and this country does that, and this country does this, but yet they still remain.
Yeah, there's a word for that in Spanish. Starts with P and ends with dejo, man. But anyways, that's stupidity, man.
It is
That's
stupidity.
just sheer stupidity. But it's also destructive. It's very destructive, bro. It's anti-God.
Yeah.
And it's anti-life even. And so.
I mean, we look at it like real quick, like even all this, like Fauci's was back, speaking again. He's supposed to be on his way out. How convenient though that he's during this time. But anyway, it's interesting because now he's spreading the COVID fear-mongering again, right? He even went in. They asked him about the origins of COVID the other day, right, and how it came out from Wuhan. And guess whose fault it was. Right, in regards to the origins of COVID,
Him.
Well, yeah,
But he blames Trump.
He blamed Trump. He said that if Trump hadn't been so accusatory towards China, maybe China would have shared their information with him. But this guy was directly involved with Wuhan. Of course, we'll probably get kicked off of YouTube for this now too, because they're actually going through our episodes. It's interesting. We're a very small podcast, right? But YouTube, I'm getting emails from YouTube like on a weekly basis as they keep going through our episodes and removing them one by one. But anyway, so we'll probably get removed for this one as well.
Oh yeah, we've said COVID about 10 times
about
now?
10 times. So which is interesting is that now he's blaming Trump, and he even said that the protest, when they asked him about the protest the other day, because have you seen what's going on in the protests in China? It's at a boiling point, folks. I don't know if people realize this, but the lockdown was so serious, 3 years of lockdown, the lockdown was so serious that authorities were welding people in their homes, right? And then just last week, I believe a fire happened at an apartment complex, and the families couldn't escape because of the lockdown. So now protests have started all over the place. But Fauci himself said that the protests, well, okay, but at least China has saved some lives with their lockdowns.
Oh, well, and so look, real quick right here, I saved this. It was Fox News report, and it's out there. Vaccinated Americans, those that got stuck, vaccinated Americans are a majority of COVID deaths for the first time in August.
For the first time. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, and so that's what I was talking about, the conditioning, the career. They were offering you freaking pizza to go stand in a line.
They almost got me, Frank. They almost got me.
Oh, dude, was it the pepperoni? Was it freaking... Dude, I mean, what can you say? What can you do, man? I mean, honestly, bro. Honestly, when they all got in sync and they're all saying the same thing, it's some words inside of you. Something has to say something ain't right here.
Yeah.
Something is off. There's something wrong with this picture. And so right here, this just came out a couple days ago. Let me see when I read this. It was November 23rd. Coronavirus. Vaccinated Americans are a majority of COVID deaths for the first time in August.
Wow.
So folks that went and got stuck under the promise or whatever, it's going to protect you, whatever. They're now a majority of the deaths.
And it's insane, man. And what's the best answer to this? Well, go get another booster, right? That go. That way. I've been talking with so many people, Frank. I was just visiting with a couple the other day, an older couple that they're both of them, husband and wife, are now suffering heart issues.
Yeah.
And they're, believe it or not, their doctors actually said it may be a result because of the vax. But interesting. But this is how the left handles any questions in regards to COVID. I want to show this video here real quick, and then we'll continue on here real quick, because this is how the left handles things now in regards to the origins of any questions in regards to COVID. Oh.
I'm not calling out on people who yell. I'm not calling out on, have a process here. We have a process here. I'm not calling out on people who yell. And you're being disrespectful to your colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests. I will not call on you if you yell, and also you're taking time off the clock because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes. I'm done. I'm not getting into a back and forth with you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Dr. Fauci,
But she's
only,
Okay, so you see how they handle. Dr.
Shut
Fauci,
you down.
Yeah, shut you down. Fauci was asked by a reporter about the origins of COVID.
Yeah.
Right? And 2 or 3 other people started asking the same questions. Next thing you know, Korean Jean-Pierre comes out and starts to shut them down. This is how the left handles any questions in regards to their so-called truth.
Well, and not just the left, bro. The Unity Party does this. The elitists do this. But look, as I was talking earlier, you know, of course, the thought is always tempered with this, Manny. There's always this in the balance, folks. Of course, we know people now that are suffering the side effects.
Right.
And so, you know, we're not sitting here, you know, just adding insult to injury. It's like, you know, we know people that have developed issues. It's exacerbated pre-existing conditions in people. Yeah. It's caused new medical dilemmas for people. That's tragic. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's freaking evil. It's wrong. It's criminal. Heads need to roll for that.
Yes.
But at the same time, Manny, you know, for me, I'm just kind of like, you know, it kind of want to makes you throw up your hands up in exasperation, bro. It's like, you know, because we know people haven't been warned. Please don't do this. Don't follow that route. Don't listen to the fear, to the hysteria, to the mongering that's going on. Don't. It's evil. There's something more profound to what is taking place here. And when freaking Congress itself, bro, exempts itself from the jab, and that should tell you everything. That should tell you that, you know, they're not willing to do it, you know. Anyways, we're not heartless here, man. We're not, you know.
No, it's frustrating. Maybe it's these couple months we've been off the air for a little bit. We're catching up on a lot of things.
A lot of different things, yes.
But it is frustrating, Frank. It is frustrating because every time I see the news and I watch these people telling these lies, and
it's tragic, Manny. It really is, bro. Yeah. I mean, people's lives are being cut short. People are dying prematurely, and the whole time you're sitting here thinking, can't you see it, folks? Like sheep being led to the slaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, can't you see it, folks? How they're every time I go to HEB, man, to buy groceries, Manny, I hate this. I hate that. I hate having to go to one central point to get my groceries. It's like everybody get in line, step up to the feeding trough here. You know, this is where you're going to get fed.
Yeah.
And there was a reason. There was a reason that there's a reason that God created a garden. There's a reason that God put man in a garden. Get your food, your nourishment from the land. Yeah. There's a reason he created this planet with its bounty in the sea, on land, in the air, in its forest, you know. And so, you know, as Americans, we need to realize, folks, American society is being set up. It's being set up. It's being pushed a certain way. And the vast majority of our fellow Americans, bro, will be oblivious in the day of destruction, man.
Yep, they sure will. And the scriptures talk about that, you know. And it doesn't, you know, scriptures, you know, a lot of people think that the scriptures mention the United States and America. It doesn't. It mentions believers and nations as a whole, right? But even the elect will be deceived, you know, in the last days. And we see this happening now. I mean, we see what's happening even behind the pulpit, you know, and things that are being promoted even behind the pulpit, even such things such as abortion being promoted behind the pulpit. You know, people, pastors, rabbis, you know, trying to justify abortion, which you can't. It's murder, right? It's murder. You know, there's no two ways about it. But what's interesting also, Frank, is that there, even when people come out, like Fauci finally admitted, right, that masking up really didn't work, right? But then he goes and says, but mask up, right? And then people buy it still, right?
Yeah.
They're like, okay, he couldn't cite any studies. He was on Face the Nation the other day. He couldn't cite any studies of why masking up helped. And then he admitted, well, maybe it wasn't as effective as we thought, but I still recommend people to mask up.
Yeah.
And then people still buy it, and that's the thing. We look at the midterms, right? The Democrats really had no policies to run on, so they started fear mongering.
Yeah.
We talked, and again, we've talked with older people that said, well, yeah, I went ahead and voted for them because I'm afraid that this is going to be taken away, that's going to be taken away. But there's no policy, there was no evidence that anything was going to happen to certain programs, right?
Yeah.
But that's what happens.
So we've been sitting here sacando la garra, like they say in Spanish, kind of,
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of, throwing stones or whatever you want to say. I don't know what the equivalent would be. There's some very funny sayings in Spanish, bro. I just kind of shake my head sometimes at the things that people say. But anyways, so we've been out here accentuating the negative, so let's accentuate the positive here now. So what are you going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah. You got to get involved, folks. Honestly, one of the things that's coming up here, Manny, next year, to, squeak any kind of positive forward momentum from this Republican-held legislature.
Wow.
And so folks are gearing up here for this upcoming legislative session. I think it's the 88th, maybe, or 89th. Anyways, why? Because they know it's going to be a fight. Why? Because a bunch of freaking establishment swamp got reelected or got put into office. People got pre-selected before the election, and so they came out, and so they're going to the state legislatures, to our state legislature, across the country. But anyways, here in Texas for us, and you guys that are visiting, watching from outside, get involved in your states. But anyways, Texans have got to get involved, and so there's efforts out there, bro. Part of the way, and I said this before, what do politicians respond to? They respond to money, and they respond to pressure. And so there's got to be a monumentally huge pressure campaign on this upcoming legislative session. And so what does that mean? Well, it means, reading up on the issues. What is going before the state legislature? What are they going to be looking at? What legislation is being, crafted and forwarded for consideration by the different committees? What is your state rep doing? Here we have a Democrat that got reelected. And so what's he going to be doing? I would say it's probably going to be on the left. And so that's where folks are going to have to get involved, is look at the bills and legislation. Why? In the middle of everything else that's going on, Manny, trying to live life, trying to pay bills, trying to raise children, trying to freaking keep marriages and relationships together, and dealing with medical issues in life, and, life. In the midst of all that, we've got our legislators here that are going to be crafting, rules and laws and regulations and nose rings, if you would, for the rest of us here.
Right.
A small group of people that are going to be guiding and directing our society. And we need to be involved. And so how do you, as my beard rubs the microphone here. And so what do you need to do, folks? You need to get involved, learn, get aware, spread the word, tell others, shake people by the collar, wake them up, figuratively slap them in the face, wake them up to what's happening, what they're doing, and get involved with these groups, Manny, that are trying to, raise a voice. We've seen that model before, where people band together, they raise their voice, they press an issue, and then they go and address their elected officials face to face.
Yes.
Go to Austin. And we can't go to, I'll go to Washington, D.C., but here people can go to Austin. And then, of course, when your legislators come out in the field, then go get with your legislators, unless you're here in the 23rd district, where the guy has to be chased down because he's a coward. Yeah, but anyways, go into your representative's office and go talk to them and look for them. And and make your concerns known. And it's always best if you go informed, if you know what you're talking about, versus just a bunch of freaking, I'm ticked off at I'm paying too much taxes. Where's my money being used? That kind of stuff.
I think that's, but yeah, get informed, folks. Get some information behind you. Some credible information as well as statistics. Sites. Information to take to basically arm yourself per se with information. So you can hold their feet to the fire. Regardless if they have the R before their name, they need to be held accountable. We have, as citizens, we have the right to hold our elected officials' feet to the fire.
Look, here's a practical idea, folks. If you want to get involved in some way or another, this is something you can do. Read up on stuff, find out where the committees are going to be hearing different things, whatever the issue is. There's all kinds of committees looking at different issues, and just Google search it, man. Go find out, what committees exist within the Texas State Legislature, and then you'll have them, Homeland Security, whatever. And then just dig into that. And there's some people that are already doing that.
That in Michigan, right, where a lot of parents stood up and wanted all this, all this pornographic material removed from their reading list, their children's reading list, elementary schools, So, but and there are people out there who are willing to help. We got Sheena Rodriguez. She's always willing to
The border stuff.
Always willing to look for people to help. To go with her to hearings, and she travels all over the place. Please look her up as well. But there's all kinds of other people that already have opened the door, but need some help. With.
So that's one practical way right there, bro. Is just because. And even so, look, I'm not saying that's a be all end all. I'm not going to say, hey, you get 50 people to show up. Oh my God, miraculously they're going to change their minds and do what you want them to do. But they gotta feel some heat, man. They gotta know that they're being watched. They have to be questioned. They have to be asked. And the only way that's going to happen, if they don't go back to your district, and when they do, they go and they freaking hide somewhere, then you're going to have to go look for them in their offices. Go look for them up, in Austin, and walk around there. It's the people's house. It's your house.
Yeah.
You have every right to go do that. And that's just one practical thing that I'm thinking about. People can do. The other thing, of course, phone calls, write letters. Information, just spread the word, get the word out, get the awareness out, and get involved in some way or another, in a positive, proactive way, man. There's a lot of folks that get together, honestly, man, have coffee, freaking take pictures, together,
Yeah.
but whatever, but get involved with people that are going to be actually, out, door to door, out in the street, actually doing something.
Amen. Well, folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today on Talk About It Live with Frank and Manny. God willing, we'll be here next Taco Tuesday, 8 a.m. here on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. We'll be on Spotify later, Podbean, Amazon Music, and some other avenues as well. Please like and share, folks. And again, we just want to thank you so much for joining us. And we still got a lot to talk about just about every
day, bro.
Yeah, every day. So we'll close with this. God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless Texas.